Welcome back to part 2 of this episode of Spirituality with Marisa Prana.
How are you living in your purpose, and how are you staying committed to your authentic truth? That is when blessings start to really come in for you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's so kick-ass.
Thanks.
This is the Kristins Show, New York licensed social worker and board certified life coach. I just want to help you explore different ways to think. Thanks so much for tuning in. What kind of led you into your spirituality? If you're comfortable with talking about your story.
So for me and my spirituality, I've always been this way since I've had my first memory. At the age of 13, I started doing peace retreats, in different ceremonial Native American work, sweat lodges, talking stick circles, different things to that nature, which really allowed me to open my heart, open my mind, open my body up to just a different frequency that wasn't currently always in my environment, right?
Right.
In a household with narcissistic addicts, if you will, wasn't really the household of faith. And so being a spiritual being in such a negative environment, I thrived actually because of my faith that I had, because ever since I was little, I said, okay, I can communicate to this angel or this or that, then it makes it a little better for me and my experience here. It's always been my mindset. So as I grew and got older, my practices just strengthened and strengthened with different plant medicines, working with different spiritual leaders, Reiki masters, shamans, all different types of intuitive beings all around the world, and I still do. And so that's how, I grew into my spirituality. It's because I grew into myself, and I am understanding that you're all pre-assigned a lesson in your own journey, in your human experience when you come to this planet. And I understand now, being through so many lessons, that now I'm in my highest frequency, right? I'm living one of the best versions of my timeline. I know this what is the word I'm saying? The phrases and the words I'm using are super spiritual. If you want to label it that.
That's okay.
Doing that for a purpose.
Absolutely.
So, but for me, it's really just knowing myself so much, and the more that I am true to me, allows others to be free. And that is my spiritual practice recently, which is really fucking dope. I'll tell you. So this is the weird shit I do. So Kristen will occasionally voice note. I love it. We'll text, we'll check in. Yeah. Sometimes you will catch me on a day where I'm coming off of plant medicine, or I've like just done this, or I'm just like, hey, oh yeah, I'm just, I'm just meditating into this. And she's like, what the fuck? But it's just
no, I love it.
Things.
I think it's like the most amazing thing in the world.
Hell yeah. What was it? The other weekend I did in Brooklyn. I went to this cacao ceremony, and it's a ceremony to open your heart and your mind, and you drink the sacred cacao. It's a plant medicine, and you're doing this holotropic breath work. It's called, and what it does, it continues to activate the plant medicine. Hold on. My whole face was like tingling, and I felt like I was fucking body of water.
Wow.
It was crazy. But guess what happened? I started to be greeted by different versions of myself. Wow. As an inner child, as my inner teenager. She's a real fucking treat. And talking to them and communicating with them, because what happens after that, after the ceremony is done and days go by, you have so much clarity and such a sense of, I don't give a shit. Like, this is beautiful. And it brings you that gratitude, right? So to tie it back into the gratitude and the faith and all of that good stuff. So doing these rituals and doing these different plant medicines and having a place where you can be in a community of other like-minded beings who
Sure.
probably on their everyday basis can't communicate like this with others, right?
Right. Of
As
course.
right. And so then you go back into the world and you say, oh my God, I have such a different perspective. And so
Mm.
you and I maybe have not done plant medicine in your work with me, but you've opened your mind and your heart and your soul on so many powerful levels where it's almost the same if you think about it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like opening up your heart.
Yeah. It's a sense of euphoria.
I opened up my heart to you, and I opened up my heart to the fact that there's a higher being. If
Yeah.
I didn't do that, I don't know where I would be now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like for
Exactly.
you, Marisa, if you didn't step into this spirituality or whatever you want to call it, where do you think that you would have been? Where do you think that your life would have taken you?
There is nowhere else for me to be.
Mm,
That's how I would. I honestly, I was greeted with the option of death or change your life, and I chose to change my life and take a very spiritual, holistic approach
I
to
love
my
that.
life. So it was either death or this. So that's why I answer that so strong. I'm like,
Yeah,
there is no other option. Once
that's
you know,
great. That's
yeah, once,
amazing. Because some people are
yeah,
like, no, there is an option. I can choose the death side, or
no,
I
no,
can
no.
actually do something.
Imagine though, if you think about that, if you're presented with a choice, do the one that allows you to step into the unknown because that's where real miracles happen.
Mm.
Hmm.
And you always want to take a chance on yourself.
Always take a chance on yourself.
Always.
It's the most rewarding.
It's so scary, but you
It
have
is.
to. You owe it to yourself, right? Don't you? Anybody listening to this, you owe everything to yourself to step into your highest person that you know that you can be. And like you have to choose you. Like
Yeah.
you're worth it. You deserve to step into that. If you have a choice between death or like really stepping into something more higher, I hope and suggest that you actually step into the thing that makes you higher and better and not the other way.
Always,
Always.
always, 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 always. And when I say death, it could be of an ego death, a death
Mm.
in rebirth. It doesn't have to actually be to the extreme. So
Right, of actual death. Right.
yeah,
Sure.
we don't have to go there, but
Yeah. No,
but
but thank you
yeah.
for clarifying that. No, that makes a lot of
Hmm.
sense. If you are going through like the hardest time in your life, or even if you're not,
Hmm.
that there's a higher source that you can grab onto. And it doesn't have to be God. It could be whatever you want it to be. But to know that there are bigger plans for you, if that
There's
makes sense.
there is always a bigger plan for you. I love that.
Always.
And like honestly, you're talking about, there's always a bigger plan and keep holding on, right, to that faith, to that
Yeah.
higher power. I can tell you, from your own journey, from my own journey, that when it gets the darkest in your own mind, in your own emotions, or there's so many random things coming at you that you have no control over, but they're somehow still affecting you because there's
Yeah.
a crossover there.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest piece of advice for you is to every day make a list, and it doesn't matter if you can only conjure up 2 to 3 things of what makes you happy.
Mm.
And if that is water, the sun, and the color green, then so be it,
I love
right?
that.
And then you continue to add more because when you bring in this gratitude
Mm.
in those times when you don't really feel like it and it sounds annoying, that's when it will be the most rewarding,
I
right?
used to I used to always hate when you would tell me to like I fucking hated it. When you would tell me to write down things I was grateful for, I'm like, I fucking hate this foo-foo shit. I hate
Mm-hmm.
it. Still to this day, I'm like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. But
But
yeah,
when I would do it, and then I would look back on it when I was having those days of like, I don't want to do this. I'm just having a bad day and I'm hating life right now. I would look back and be like, okay, let's focus on the things that I'm grateful for.
mm,
Because once I focus on this, I know that my mood is not going to be so up and down because my focus is clear. I'm focusing on the things that I'm actually grateful for, not the shit that I'm mad about. And this can be a whole different other episode about like focusing on like the shit that you're grateful about. But I know for me, when you would tell me to write down the things I was grateful for, and you guys might be listening to this saying like, I don't want to write that shit down. But like Marisa said, even if it's like two things, what you're happy about, like you said, what was the sun and the color green, just write it down.
Yeah,
Just write it
exactly.
down so you can go back to it.
Exactly. And I would love to touch on that as well. And you have to,
Yeah.
in those moments when you don't want to love yourself and put in that time to do some mental and spiritual hygiene, you have to ask yourself, why would you neglect yourself? Think of it this way. Do you go a day without brushing your teeth or washing your face or wiping your ass?
You know, it's so funny. I think you just gave me
You know,
another episode that we can talk about because
yeah,
it is the biggest thing that I think people probably have to relearn, and I feel like I learn it every single day, is self-love.
That's right, honey.
Because I remember when I first started working with Marisa, it was self-love.
It's all about
what? Like, what's that? Like, I just want things to come easy. Like, I don't want to have to work for it. I don't want to have to wake up and do all the things that I have to do.
I want to pose a question on you.
Please.
With all of this being said, because your listeners, you know, I'm just going to assume they're going to be like, okay, Kristen, so if you had so much apprehension of working with this woman, what made you hire a spiritual mindset coach?
Right, isn't that nuts?
What made you?
So nuts.
So let's answer it because
hold
on, because Kristen was the biggest skeptic.
Oh, absolutely.
And she tried to quit on me. She tried to break up with me, and I was like, "Fuck you, we're not breaking up."
I'm like, I can't.
Your wedding next month.
And then she came to my wedding.
And then I came to her wedding.
Well, because I invited her. I wanted her to be there. Like,
But why did you, someone
right in the beginning, right?
Yeah, someone who couldn't stand the word God, and didn't really want to journal, or didn't, I don't know.
I love this question. No, this is a great question because people probably, I feel like a lot of my listeners probably might feel this way. I feel like I could be totally wrong here. They could be like, Kristen, no, that's not me. But it might be you. And if this is you, please stay and listen because...
Well, I want to listen.
Yes.
So you have one listener.
Marisa's just going to listen to me. The answer is that I needed something different. What I was doing wasn't working. Right? And what is that the definition of insanity? Doing something over and over again, getting the same results.
Einstein.
Wishing that it was different. Insanity. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. If it's not, then I just made it up.
You're right.
Thank you. I was sick and tired of the same shit. I wasn't getting the results that I wanted, meaning like I wasn't just feeling happy and grateful and the self-love that I wanted to do. So I knew I needed to do something way different, totally out of something that I would normally do. And around this time was when I was getting married, I was very so about getting married in the Catholic Church. Do you remember this? Didn't want it. A lot of the priests that we met, I didn't like some of the comments that they said about like divorced parents. And Nick and I are from divorced parents. And I just didn't like their comments. I just wasn't finding the right priest for us. And I remember saying like, I don't want to get married in the Catholic Church. It just wasn't for me. I know I'm going off path here. But eventually we found a church. To be quite honest with you, the reason why I picked this church. Why did I pick this church? You remember?
No, you have to remind me.
It was because it was a minute away from my house. So you're not going to come on here and think, oh my God, Kristen found her priest. No. I had to pick a 2-minute away church because my stomach issues at that time was just not okay. So I wasn't appreciative. I didn't appreciate the fact that I was getting married in a church still when I still got married in the church. It was only then after I was like, oh my God, that's why I got married in the church. Because I'm becoming more into my faith in God that I would have been upset if I didn't get married in the church. For me, for me. So
Mhm.
going back to that question of, well, why did I hire Marisa, the spirituality, like life coach? Like that's so not like something that I would do, but I knew the clear answer is I needed something different. I needed something that was going to be totally different than what I'm used to. And I remember Marisa's voice notes being so like high energy and like just flowing. I'm like, ah. You know what's so funny? It's the same thing with Amanda when I first met her because she was so same way.
Amanda Bybel, yes.
Yeah. Ah, like just yes, Chris, like just so sweet. And I'm like, I can't handle this. Like this is a little too nice for me. Which just
Let's
sounds
give them a
crazy.
preview. It would be, I'll hold the phone up. Hey girl, what's happening?
Right, exactly.
Okay, so
Right.
hold on. So this fucking person's in my way. I'm driving.
Right.
Okay. I know. So did you
Exactly.
today? Did you listen to the podcast they sent you? Like it would be like that. And
No, that's verbatim.
verbatim.
That's verbatim. And it's the funniest thing that these things would just like irk at my soul. And it wasn't you. It wasn't Amanda. It was me.
It was
But
the
I
light
knew.
energy.
Right. But why was I drawn to you guys? I was drawn to you guys because of the energy that you guys were feeding off. And I'm like, ooh, but I need a taste of that. I need that. I need that if I want to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question of,
Oh,
well, why would I hire you? Because I knew I like I loved you and I liked pieces of you, but I liked all of you, right? But I can't be you, right? So I
mm-hmm.
liked pieces of you. So I'm like, how do I like take a little bit of her, take a little bit of Amanda, and kind of make it me, but like just better me? Like, how can I better myself?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And I can personally say too, when someone wants something that they've never done before, that
Mm-hmm.
is when you're going to see the biggest transformation, right? Because you're kind of you're being so vulnerable and open and putting it all on the line and saying, I don't know anything from your world, but I'm open and I'm willing. And here's a list of all of my things.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you get from spiritual mindset coaching and transformation? Because now they heard about your manifestation coming to life. You're
Mm-hmm.
clearly listening to this podcast because it's a part of your purpose and your destiny.
Yep.
So now this is why you were attracted to spiritual coaching. What did you get out of it now that it's been almost about 6 months
Wow.
since we ended? Mm-hmm.
What have I gotten out of it? What did I not get out of it? It's like, you know what I mean? That's a loaded question because I got so much. I've always been aware. I've always been aware of the things that I needed to change. But I guess the difference was now I was doing something about it. And I was seeking into myself, but then also the outside. And for me, it was more the outside of like God, of like, and the way that I see it, I know it's different for everybody else, but the way that I see it is this person, the higher power up there watching me, is has my plan, and I just have to be patient. And I have no patience. That's the problem, and that's something that we work on every single day. And I implement it with Nick a lot. There's a lot of things that Nick's, with being patient, and I'm like, Nick, this is like I feel like we're getting taught something here, which is great. Like this is working our patience. Like we have to work on our patience.
Yeah.
Like this situation is happening, and I'll just say it. So like the neighbors next door, you know this with the car situation about parking in front and smoking weed. Smoke weed, we don't give a shit. But like, don't do it in front of our house when I can't open up my window because the weed comes right into my window. Do whatever you want, but like that's just it's very annoying to us. But it just came to a point where it would happen over and over and over again, and we, spoke to them and all that fun stuff. But at a point, I said to him because it's happening more frequently. I think this is teaching us something, not to get us aggravated. I think it's teaching us something to be more patient. And usually, what I would do, and at some days I do, when you get like crazy mad and just like frustrated at that specific situation that you might be thinking about. Now I'm thinking about more like, okay, so what is this teaching me right now? Like, what is this teaching me?
I heard the word acceptance. Because, right?
Yeah.
I'll quote this, we must respect and accept our neighbor. Right? So because they have things that irk you, that's actually something that you have to accept.
Right.
It's a form of forgiveness, and then that's when you
become— That's so hard.
Right? And it's because when you become mentally free, you're like, okay, you know what? They parked in my spot again. Fuck you, but love and light.
But that's kind of usually how the voice notes usually go for you. And don't even say that it's not. It would be, fuck you, this fucking asshole, but love and light. I would pee myself on the phone listening to Marisa's voice note, but it's exactly what that was. And literally. It's true though, right? True. There's things that happen that are so fucking aggravating. And I know it sounds so small, but when you fuck with my home, I have a problem with that. That's just my safe space. But when you kind of take yourself out of it a little bit and see like, okay, it's a parking spot, these people are actually nice, like they're not bad people. And when when you're safe type of thing, it's the acceptance. Like, I'm accepting, all right, fine. And I think the hardest part about acceptance is like letting something go. Do you know what I mean? And we can like do another episode of like acceptance.
Oh yeah.
And all that fun stuff. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? That, my friend, is the number one thing when it comes to spirituality. Acceptance. You just have to accept everything for what it is and not what you want it to be.
Can you say that again? So not what you want it to be.
We have to accept things for what they are and not what we want them to be. Because when you get to that total place of acceptance, like, it allows you to drop that anger. And that's where that pissed offness and all of that, and we can totally get into that, but that's, it all, you see how it all just circles, it keeps looping, know, we'll literally get back to the root question with everything we talk about, because it all stems together.
Right, absolutely. Marisa, my little butterfly.
Yes, hello.
You are amazing.
You are amazing.
You are, and I appreciate you coming on here. Can you just tell people what you do, just to close this off, what you do and how they can find you?
Yes, my darling.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So my name is Marisa Prana. You can find me on Instagram at ButterflyPrana. You can find me on my website, ButterflyPrana.com. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me at your local beach, your coffee shop. I am a motivational speaker, and the next talk I have coming up is in Tampa. You can find me at KushCon, talking about spiritual awakening, cannabis, and how to be an empowered woman in business. You can catch me at all these places, and that's about it. And I'm so honored and happy to be here. I'm so proud of you. Your podcast is freaking amazing because you deserve it.
That's right. You fucking deserve it.
You fucking deserve it. That's fucking right.
That's fucking right. Because you fucking deserve it.
Because you deserve it.
Marisa, my little butterfly, thank you guys so much for coming on to this episode. And I hope that you've stuck through and listened to this whole thing, because I think it was really important to talk about all these different types of things that maybe, people do speak about, but I think that I don't speak about it. So I think it was good for me to speak about what actually helps me with my anxiety and my depression has been this. So thank you guys for listening this episode with Spirituality with Marisa. Love you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, share, follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Also come follow me on Instagram, _Kristen_Ann88. And if you're ready to take the next step because you fucking deserve it, come take a look at my website on Instagram.